Hi everyone, to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today I cannot wait to share this delicious dessert recipe with you. We're going to be making a creamy ricotta puff pastry braid. It's kind of like a strudel, but better because it looks so much fancier, but it's so easy to make. You have delicious flaky puff pastry with a creamy, almost cheesecake-like filling and some almonds. It's just a delight. You're gonna love this. Let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna begin by making the creamy ricotta filling. I'm using a tabletop mixer, but you can do this in a big bowl with a hand mixer as well. Go ahead and add 8 ounces or 230 grams of soft cream cheese. It gets nice and soft when you leave it at room temperature for at least an hour. Then we're gonna add 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of pure almond extract, and then a heaping cup of the best quality ricotta cheese that you can find. Full fat is best because it's just nice and creamy and not watery at all. If you're not using a good quality ricotta, it's going to be grainy and watery and it'll ruin your filling. So try to find a really good quality one like this. You'll know it's good quality because it won't be watery and it'll be pretty creamy. So add that to the bowl with 1 egg yolk and then just start mixing it until it's nice and smooth. It's just going to take 2 to 3 minutes on high speed or even a little bit less. Go in and scrape down the sides and the bottom of the bowl, so if there's anything stuck like sugar and stuff like that, it all incorporates evenly. And that's it. The creamy cheesecake layer is done. Now we're just going to prepare the pastries. I usually buy the big sheets of puff pastry from my restaurant supply shop, but I didn't have any. I completely ran out, so I just bought a pack from the grocery store. It's a 1-pound pack and it has 2 puff pastry sheets in it. They're not as big, but I'm just going to roll them out on a lightly floured surface until each one of them is about 12 inches wide and almost 15 inches long. I'm not going to go exactly to the 15-inch mark because then they get too thin. And then using a really sharp knife, I'm just going to go ahead and cut some slits down the side. About 1-inch thick slits is going to be good, and do that at a diagonal so that way they fold over easily and they form a beautiful braid. If you cut an equal amount, it'll just look prettier, but I just forget to count and I just go ahead and I cut it the best way I can. Now take half of that creamy ricotta filling and put it on the center of the pastry and then just spread it down the center so that way it's even. And then we're just going to take 1 strip at a time, crisscrossing over the other. And if you have a few extra slits on one side, you could just take 2 at a time until they're all even, just like I'm doing over here. Once you roll the puff pastry out, it is best to transfer it to a parchment paper because it just makes it so much easier to transfer this on a tray later. But anyway, what's done is done and we're going to do the best we can. And now it's just time to brush the top with some heavy whipping cream. I used to use an egg wash, but I do prefer the flavor of heavy cream because it just adds that beautiful color that we want without that plasticky, eggy taste. So go ahead and brush the top and the side of the pastry with heavy cream. And then I have some sliced almonds. I'm just going to sprinkle them on top and kind of press them in so that way they stay on the pastry. And finally, I'm just going to sprinkle some granulated sugar on top and then transfer it onto my baking pan. If you want to sprinkle some cinnamon on top of the creamy mixture once you're done, you can definitely do that. It'll add really good flavor. Chocolate chips go really good in here. It'll give it almost a cannoli flavor. But once your pastries are assembled, you're going to have to chill them in the freezer for a good 20 minutes. That's perfect because the oven is going to have to preheat anyway, so you can do that in the meantime. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and then they'll be ready to bake. So we are making 2 puff pastry braids today because that's how many you make, and why not make an extra one? If you're not going to be serving it, they freeze beautifully. So you can bake one and freeze the other, or make these ahead of time and freeze both, and they're best frozen before they're baked. So basically you just assemble the whole thing, brush it with cream, do the whole almond and sugar topping, and then you set these in the freezer. You basically chill them in the freezer until they're frozen solid, and then you can transfer them into freezer safe bags or wrap them really nicely with some plastic wrap so that way they don't absorb any odors from the freezer, and they will keep fresh in your freezer for like 2 months, and you can bake these straight out of the freezer. Obviously we're unwrapping them in plastic, right? And then you can just bake them straight from the freezer for about 45 minutes or as long as it takes for them to be beautiful and golden and puffy and so good. But I'm baking one and I'm freezing another one today, and it is important that you do chill them before you bake them because that's going to help them puff up in the oven. If you put room temperature puff pastry in the oven, you'll find that it kind of bakes flat. So if that's ever happened to you before, that's the reason. Chill it a little bit in the freezer and you'll see it'll make such a big difference. The house smells so good right now. If you want to skip the sugar topping and once it comes out of the oven, you can drizzle some Greek honey on top. That is so good too. We give you options around here, but it looks beautiful. It's gonna taste delicious. It's golden and puffy and it's just perfection. Goes great with some coffee. Let's do the taste test. These kind of desserts are dangerous around me because I love creamy fillings, especially when it tastes like cheesecake, especially when it's almond flavored. So good. The puff pastry is light and fluffy, but perfectly cooked. The almonds on top got crunchy and it's a little sweet from the sugar, and that filling tastes like cheesecake. It's this taste in between like a Danish, like a Danish filled with cheesecake filling. I don't know, it's so good. If you don't like almond, leave it out. I know some people don't like almond flavored desserts. Make this vanilla flavored. Make yourself happy, you're making it. I hope you guys give this recipe a try. You can print it out on the website, dimitrasdishes.com. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'll see you all next time. Yes, us.